Hello everyone, this is Anna from Realty, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Golden Visa in Europe and in Portugal. And today I will be here with Jason from Holborn Assets that are specialized exactly in the Golden Visa. And for those of you who don't know, Realty is a relocation and investment agency that helps expats move to Portugal in a sustainable way. Our goal is to give as much information to buyers and to new relocators so they can make informed and good purchases aligned with the local market. We work with both rentals and purchases and provide as much information that we can in both our channel and our website in www.savvycatrealty.com. So as I was saying, today I'm here with Jason from Holborn Assets, which is an investment company that is specialized in the Golden Visa. And we are going to talk a bit about the Golden Visa, the current program. And a lot of people are still a bit concerned about, is the Golden Visa still worth it since the changes happen? What would you say about it, Jason?
Well, the changes, the program itself, Anna, hasn't actually changed since 2023 now, when the option to invest into property was removed, with a view to try and curb rapidly increasing house prices, as I'm sure you are well aware at the time. And since then, yeah, the program has remained the same, but the current proposed change to the citizenship law is meaning for investors that it might take up to 10 years to get the passport rather than the current 5-year timeline. So it's not too important for everyone because you still have full rights to Portugal after 5 years. But if you want to get the passport, that may be extending as far as 10 years over the coming months.
But it is also important to note that that legislation has not been approved yet. It has been going back and forth in Parliament. And I do think it is likely that this period is going to be extended, but we do not have any final answers yet. So tell me a bit about what do you think, how the Portuguese Golden Visa compares to the other options in Europe?
Well, Portugal, Anna, is the only route to a European passport without the need to actually live and be tax resident in Europe. So there are still other programs like the Greek Golden Visa and the Italian Golden Visa, for example, amongst others, where you can still, work towards permanent rights and maybe a passport, but you've got to live in the country. You've got to be tax resident in Europe. For Portugal, you only have to be here for 14 days every 2 years, which is all that you need.
Per year, so even better.
Yeah, there you go. 7 days per year or 14 days every 2 years. And that's it. So you don't have to be tax resident. You actually don't move anywhere, but you can still kind of get the clock ticking towards getting a passport later down the line.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I wasn't aware that the other European options didn't have that flexibility. And it's also important to note that the Golden Visa is the only option that allows you to do this. Any other visa in Portugal will require you to be in the country for at least 6 months. So,
Correct. Yep. Bottom.
currently, what is the minimum threshold for investment for the Golden Visa?
For an investment, all investment types require 500,000 euros. It is possible to make a donation to the Portuguese government. If you're feeling generous, you can do that with 250,000 euros, potentially with as little as 200,000 euros. But all investments require the full 500,000.
Yes. So that is also important to note because that's one other thing that changed from 2023. Previously, the program allowed investment starting from 250 and then it went up for 200, 500, except this donation route, which was only added, I think it was after, it was like 2024, something like that. But yes, it was a curious one. I don't know, is it being popular? I'm very curious. Do you have an idea if people are adhering to this donation route?
Well, put it this way, now, with over 3,000 applications to date, we're yet to do a single donation.
I'm not surprised at all.
Let's do the maths on that
I do think it's a bit of wishful thinking on the Portuguese state side. So, going into the important things, how are people actually getting return on this Golden Visa investment? How are the long-term financial planning looking here? And is it being worth it overall?
Well, the investment, it's important to know, and the investment is very much separate to the visa application. So they're not necessarily tied to one another. And all investments have their own terms and conditions. They come in all different shapes and sizes, just like the world of investing. And clients can invest as cautiously or as adventurously as they like. Ultimately, the returns from any investment are driven by the appetite for risk that they wish to take on. The majority of my clients are not really doing this to make lots of money. They're more focused on the visa and having the maximum security for the capital during that process. But ultimately, yeah, the investor can choose, and as long as the investment funds meet the requirements set by the Portuguese government, then they'll qualify for the visa. There's just a few rules. The first one is that the fund has to be regulated and approved in Portugal by the CMVM. The fund, as we mentioned, can no longer invest into real estate, which changed back in 2023.
But
The
it
fund
is
has
still possible for commercial real estate, like hotel projects and that kind of thing. I was under that impression. No?
Actually not. No,
Okay.
it's any property
Okay.
of any kind, either the residential or commercial. So there was a change on it. There was a change where residential property came out and commercial property was still
Mm-hmm.
allowed,
Mm-hmm.
following the change in 2023. But now it's across the board. All
Okay.
property is excluded. You can still buy property, but it wouldn't qualify for the visa. Um, but yeah, otherwise, yeah, the investment funds need to invest at least 60% of the capital in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's yeah, that's otherwise you can choose any fund
So you
to
would say
qualify.
that there is a wide range of options for people to choose from when they are looking at this golden visa route.
There are a good number of funds to choose from. There are tens of thousands of funds in the universe, but
Mhm.
by comparison, there's a pretty small list of funds that meet the government's requirements. But there's never been a case where there hasn't been a suitable fund, for a
Mhm.
client. So it's just a
Mhm.
case of looking at the fund directory and choosing one or a couple to suit.
And you talked about the risk profile varying from fund to fund. Could you give us some numbers like percentage on return that you've been seeing on this variation?
The on the lower side, on the lower risk side, investors can choose from a fixed return with some
Hmm.
providers.
And some of
If
them
you
give
have a
guarantees, right? Like they give a lower return, but they give guarantees that you will get that, right? Yeah.
correct, yes, and for that kind of for that security, if you like, the return generally is a bit lower, but you would still expect around about 4% per year from some of those providers. On the more adventurous side, if you want to invest wholly into equities and into the stock markets, then some funds, the top three performing funds last year did between 25 and 35% over the
Oh,
past 12
wow.
months. But of
That's very
course,
impressive.
it can be very volatile, and it's not something that you'd expect every year.
Yes, that's normal, but I'm definitely
Sorry, and I
impressed
just
with the
lost you there for a moment there. I've
25%.
got you back now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't of course expect those every year, but
No, of
they
course
they
not.
do,
Like I said,
interest
that's on
funds
the
go up
high
and down.
risk end. Yes.
Correct. Correct.
So what is the process to get to the golden visa and how long has it been taking in your experience?
The process begins, Anna, with applying for tax numbers in Portugal, the NIF numbers, and shortly thereafter setting up the bank account in Portugal. And whilst we wait for the bank account, we'll start to gather all the documents that are needed for the visa application. So Generally speaking, around 8 to 12 weeks from starting the process to being able to submit the application is what to expect. Once the application is submitted, we'll then wait for the biometrics appointment, which is the only time that our client is needed in Portugal as part of the process. And then shortly after the biometrics, you will receive the visa card. The total timeline does vary. You might remember in years gone by that it's taken, a few years sometimes for clients
There was
to
actually
get the visa.
people
But as of
suing Portugal because of the delay.
correct, yeah, and there was I think it was back in 2021, I think, when that change came from residential to commercial property. There was a 3 month period where there was no lawyer in the land that could submit any applications to CEF, the immigration office at the time. So there was chaos and there was huge delays. But now, yeah, as of last year, as of November, we've seen investors start the process as late as November and already have received the biometrics appointment for this year. So it does appear to be a lot faster now, which is good to see.
And as far as I'm aware, and I might be a bit out of date, but the way the Golden Visa generally works is that you may have to make the investment first and then use this qualified investment to make the application, not the other way around.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And you need to have all of the boxes ticked to be able to submit the application. And one of those is proof of ownership of either a donation having been made or a qualifying investment in line with the government's requirements.
Which is a curious thing because it's the only visa in Portugal that works this way. All the others, you apply first and go through the works and then get your visa. But in the case of the Golden Visa, you have to do your investment and select your investment and actually make it. And only after you go through with the application for the fund, the Golden Visa. So do you think there are risks of changes in the future to this visa? And do you think that the applicants are secure in that way on the long term regarding changes in the application?
There's no changes currently forecasted for the visa. Normally, I'm very quick to hear of any potential changes, but there's no chatter at the moment of any changes to the timeline or the requirements and things like this. Last year, there was a comment in Parliament about improving the Golden Visa to make it more attractive to investors, but there's no formal changes expected at this point. At some point in the future, I do think the program will close. I don't think in the immediate future. The current government, newly elected president, also is very much pro immigration and pro overseas investment. So I think they see the value in the program to not to close. But Portugal, yeah, is the only country now offering that route to a European passport without having to live in the country. So for that reason, if nothing else, I think it will close at some point. As long as investors have submitted their application before any changes in law come into effect, then Portugal does honour the grandfathering rules to ensure that you're protected throughout your residency period. So if the program does close after an application, that won't affect retrospectively. The same as we've seen with people that bought property in years gone by, they can still renew their visa now, even though property no longer qualifies. But it's important to note, Anna, that of course the changes to citizenship law are different. So again, if you've submitted an application for a passport and then the laws change, they won't apply retrospectively. But if you start the visa process, which is a residency application, that doesn't necessarily guarantee the same citizenship process, which begins 5 years down the line. And this is kind of the bit of a grey area at the moment. There's lots of investors that want to get the passport after the 5 years, and the laws may change. So I think investors will be protected in some way, but formally, the residency law won't change retrospectively, and the citizenship law won't apply retrospectively as well. if you've submitted an application.
I also believe so, and I think it's important to look at what happened in the past when the big changes happened in 2023. There was a bit of a panic because they did try to apply them retroactively, and overall that was ruled unconstitutional and didn't happen, which I very much saw coming, but the government very much created an unneeded stir and panic, and overall the grandfather rule prevailed. And I do think that will always be the case because otherwise it will be unconstitutional. But it is important to note that the current proposal to change the passport is actually also arguing the same thing. One of the things that was raised in Constitutional Court was the fact that it is in a way breaching the grandfathering rule. So people who already started their passport counting, they would potentially double it. And that's one of the reasons that this change has not been approved yet. And I do think that in the end, some kind of middle ground will have to be found, either like count double the time for those that are already in the way. But overall, if you are looking at the passport, I do think it would be a great idea to start the application as soon as possible, so you are still protected by this grandfather rule until the changes happen. Have you seen rejections in the past? People trying to apply and getting rejections? Does that happen? How do you avoid that?
In a word and a no. There is a 100% success rate on the applications and families that I've worked with. The laws for the Golden Visa are very clear, and as long as you abide by those rules, then there isn't really any reason to expect a declined application. As long as you have a clean criminal record and you make an investment or a donation as stipulated, there really isn't any other reason to be declined. So, of course, you just need to make sure that the investment meets the criteria, to avoid any risk of being unsuccessful with the visa application.
So what do you think that is the ideal client and the ideal profile for Golden Visa? What type of clients have you been seeing?
The Golden Visa is particularly popular with clients who don't necessarily want to live full time in Portugal, or maybe don't want to move to Portugal just yet. And because of the minimum stay is just 14 days rather than 6 months, it allows investors to stay where they are, but kind of get the clock ticking towards the rights to Portugal and maybe a passport later in life, when they plan to retire, or if they need to execute a plan B. I keep hearing that phrase a lot at the minute, Anna, around a plan B for political reasons from different parts of the world. So yeah, it's generally for clients that are, should we say, later in life or thinking of retirement maybe in the not too distant future, and wanting to have that freedom to live in Portugal or Europe, or perhaps have children that want to study
Yes,
in
that's
Europe.
another interesting thing about the Golden Visa is that it allows you to annex your family. So do tell me a bit about how that works.
Yeah, well, if you have a visa, you can include as many family members as you like, and all family members benefit from basically the benefits of being a Portuguese citizen. Apart from you cannot vote and you cannot run for president, but you get access to the education system, you get access to the healthcare system. There are different tax incentives for new residents as well. There's an HR 2.0 where investors can apply for a complete tax exemption on their overseas income for up to 10 years. So things like dividend income or interest from investments abroad can be completely tax-free. For some clients that are still working, depending on their line of work, they may be able to qualify for a flat rate of income tax as well, of just 20% instead of the progressive rates of tax. So yeah, there's lots up for grabs. But if you have that golden visa, even if you don't live in Portugal, you still get access to these things, as if you did.
I do think it's important to note that you cannot add all of your family. It's generally only direct relatives like children or sometimes parents or grandparents, but you have to, I don't know if that works the same with the other visas, but with the other visas, in the case of parents or children or like cousins, you have to prove that they are dependent on you. Otherwise, you can only annex the spouse, direct descendants, and parents with limitations.
Yep, correct, Annie. Yeah, and you can include as many family members as you like, but you're 100% right. They've got to be the parents above the age of 65, children up to the age of 21, or your spouse. Anything outside of that, you do need to prove some form of dependency.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't include siblings or pets or friends or colleagues. It's just parents and children and your spouse as well.
Yes, there is no limitation on the number on this, but they do have to comply to these requirements. Another thing that I would like to go over is the Golden Visa requiring an address in Portugal at the moment?
No, you do not need to have an address in Portugal.
You do have to have like a forwarding address that can be like your office if they're working with you or the lawyer, or not even that anymore.
No,
Okay,
no,
that's interesting.
The Golden Visa is designed for people that don't live in Portugal.
Okay.
So no, no address is required. The only proof of address needed is where you live currently.
Okay.
But you don't need to have any address for Portugal at all.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think that also changed in 2023 because previously I do believe that was a requirement. And it is definitely even more flexible now. But are you seeing people coming here or getting the Golden Visa, like you said, with the intention on a medium long term of actually residing in Portugal?
Yes, that's 99 times out of 100 the long-term plan. Yes, there's certainly an interest in Portugal, certainly at least an interest in Europe. And it just comes without that commitment to make a decision right now. It's something that can begin now, and then later in life you can decide if you want to decide to move to Portugal or again into another European country with the passport.
Yes, so that's the biggest advantage of the Golden Visa is exactly the flexibility and the fact that it doesn't require you to be in the country, which is unprecedented even in Europe and unprecedented in any other types of visa in Portugal. All the others do require you, even except the digital nomad visa, but the digital nomad visa basically works with you proving you have the capacity to sustain yourself and a minimum amount of income, and you basically apply to a certain period of time, like if you want to come for a year or if you want to come to 2 years, and you apply for that amount of time. While with the Golden Visa, you just make the investment, in which even better you generally have return on, and eventually you will get the visa and you have no minimum requirements. You can spend the time that you want in Portugal, and after 5 or 10 years, we will see, you may even get the citizenship. So I only see advantages here.
Yeah, and it's what the worst part of the deal, Anna, is that you do have to come to Portugal, but only 14 days. So as long as you can force
It's a nice
yourself for a
vacation.
horrible,
I mean,
well,
Portugal is
yeah,
nice. I highly recommend.
there's worse places to go, isn't there? So that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, literally a holiday in Portugal, and that will be fine.
Yes. So I was going to say that the Portugal is very interesting regarding this kind of things, and even for long-term living, for a number of reasons. And that's also the reason why the immigration has been rising so much, and they are trying to tighten up the immigration laws. Portugal is very safe. It is at the start of Europe. It is a great climate. Well, now we're having some doubts of that, but still, it's a single event. Honestly, this something like this hasn't happened in 100 years. So the storms that we're having here now, they are not usual at all. Overall, Portugal has extremely mild climate and safety and good food and good culture. So yes, it's becoming very, very popular. And you were saying, how many applications are you doing per year?
Oh, um, as a group, maybe about 500 to 1,000 a year. I mean, since the program launched, there's been over 40,000 applications submitted for Portugal, Anna. And yeah, last year Portugal registered its highest ever footfall in country. 30 million people came to Portugal for the first time in its history last
Yes.
year. So yeah, it's all looking good.
And on top of that, that's the whole reason they are trying to tighten up the rules because Portugal is small. We are like 12 million, already counting 2 million immigrants. So we are trying to limit the ability to receive these people a bit because there's just so much interest coming. And even though, like you said, 40,000 applications to the Golden Visa, they are still under 5% of the total visa applications in Portugal. So you can see that we are having a huge amount of interest in Portugal. And that is also why you were saying that the program may be canceled in the future, but it's unlikely to be in the immediate future as it still makes sense economically for Portugal.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I do believe that we covered most of the topics. I don't know if there is anything else you would like to add here today. Maybe tell us a bit about
Well,
your company. We
yeah,
probably
sure.
should have
Well,
started with that.
I'm a specialist, Anna, with investors looking to qualify for Portugal's Golden Visa. I work exclusively with those clients now, and I've assisted now over 600 families over the past few years successfully navigate their way to Portugal. The service is, all inclusive, if you like. So all the necessary work, including things like the tax numbers, the bank account, the document collection, the biometrics, the tax returns each year, and of course the investment selection is all part of the service. And I'm here to hold my clients' hands right throughout that journey up until when they receive the visa, right throughout the citizenship timeline. Should they wish as well. So, any questions on anything to do with the visa routes or financial questions as well? I am a fully qualified financial planner here in Portugal as well, and I've been here as an expat now for coming up to 6 years. So, all in all, yeah, any questions on any of the above, I will be happy to help.
Yes, you already have the living experience to recommend Portugal.
Indeed.
So you did mention something important regarding the timeline, and we already mentioned that one of the that can be the most frustrating things here in Portugal is timelines and how things take a long time in general, everywhere. And it is also important to note that things have been getting better. And regarding especially the Golden Visa, since the IMA opened, they have been making an effort to catch up with the pending processes they have been accumulating through the past few years. So in your experience, you did say that the applications and the follow-ups have been improving. Can you give us a little bit of the timeline from your recent experience?
Sure. Yeah, it's got much better. And I mentioned about a year ago now, the government kind of came out and said, look, we're going to clear the backlog. We're going to clear this horrible backlog by the end of 2025. I was a little bit cynical at the time, but nonetheless, come like November last year, all of a sudden we saw hundreds of investors all receive their biometrics appointment pretty much within a week or two of one another. So the government really did come through and is clearly trying to clear that backlog, which is great. And we're seeing now investors that made their investment as late as November 2025, already have the biometrics appointment scheduled in as early as January 2026. So that is much faster than what we've seen previously. And long may that continue. There's been a lot of extra staff taken on at AIMA. The government has committed, to improving what
And I
is,
would say,
you know,
finally, thank God.
yeah. Well, when you think Golden Visa, you think flipping heck, it's going to take ages. If you look online, Portugal Golden Visa, the biggest complaint is the time it takes,
Yes.
to get the visa. So it's good to see, people that have been waiting patiently now, get their biometrics appointment. And yeah, hopefully that will continue throughout this year.
So you said how long has it been taking to get the biometrics in the latest
Um,
cases?
3 months, give or take 3 months,
That's
yeah.
really, really nice. Yes. Okay, so if you are interested in the Golden Visa, you can reach out. We will leave a link to book a call with Jason and Holborn Assets here in the video. We work with property, and property is a bit of a separate route here, but as you noticed, most of the people that get the Golden Visa do want to eventually come to Portugal and will need that property. So that's where we come in. And in either case, if you are looking at property, you can book a call with us on our website in www.savvycatchrealty.com. And if you're looking at the Golden Visa, you can use the link here in order to book a call with Jason or some of his colleagues at the Holborn Assets team. So Jason, thank you so much for coming here today. I think this was very informative. We are here every day, not every day, every week in this YouTube channel with information about Portugal and occasionally collaborations with services of interest like this one. So thank you for much for being here today.
No
And
problem.
I hope to see you soon. And I hope you get calls from this today.
No problem. That's great. Yeah, thanks, Anna. It's a pleasure speaking with you.